Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Energy News Beat Daily Stand-Up Show. My name's Stuart Turley, President and CEO of the Sandstone Group, and today is June 15th. We are going to have a lot of fun. Today is going to be a great day for everybody. Our story lineup is pretty amazing here. The first one is, how will the U.S. respond to failure of Kiev's NATO-backed counteroffensive? But also, how does Tucker Carlson fit in? Americans should prepare for cyber sabotage from Chinese hackers, a U.S. official warns. This one we might want to pay attention to. Now, next coming around the corner is Joe Manchin vows to fight Biden's war on appliances, not supporting any of the craziness. I don't know about you, but I'm a little wondering if we can actually trust Joe to follow through. Next one, Philadelphia bridge collapse crystallizes fossil fuel debate. We're going to debunk a little bit of this one, but it's going to have a nice impact on discussions. Next one is, beware the stock market rally because it's reminiscent of what led up to the 2008 crisis. JP Morgan Asset Management CIO says. So with that, we'd like to thank all of our listeners. We are just so happy with the interaction that we're getting and all of the positive feedback. And if there's anything that you need, it's questions@energynewsbeat.com, and check us out. Our news site is energynewsbeat.co and .com. So either one will get you there. So again, hit the subscribe button, share, like, whatever, however you do that as a young person, Michael would say. First article, how would the U.S. respond after the failure of Kiev's NATO-backed counteroffensive? How does Tucker fit in? This is an interesting article, and it is from Andrew Korbelyo, and he is a Russian Substack author. He has allowed us to reprint this. He's an interesting cat. I don't always agree with Andrew. He has some interesting points from a Russian point of view. Now, this one, though, has some really good points. Andrew Korbelyo is a Russian Substack author with some interesting articles on the global political issues. We publish his article with permission in a way to look at all sides of the discussion. In this article, he points out some very interesting things, and we can agree that the United States needs to back down from NATO and not escalate the situation in Ukraine. Also, I, for one, would like to see an accounting for all the money that the United States has sent to Ukraine and verify any graft, kickbacks, or improper use of funds. Since we don't have any of the proof out, I always want the proof. But Tucker, if you have seen Tucker Carlson's episode 3 on America's Principles Are at Stake on Twitter, pretty interesting. And watch that one before you finish the rest of this article. With Tucker's latest comments, he has some direct points that help set the stage for Andrew's article. While Trump was mentioned in his tweet, it also sets the stage for the current administration's view on this war. We have to ask, why is it that Trump is the only one that did not have a war in many of the previous presidents in our modern age? So Andrew brought up a couple points. And when you take a look at the points of NATO, escalation, and Russia has subs cruising all over the world. They have the hypersonic nuclear missiles. They could defeat much of the US's shield. So they really are not worried about the first strike or retaliatory. They've got some great weaponry. What the U.S. needs to do is back off of NATO, back off of the support, because I think that there is some real issues with Ukraine. Yes, I'm not for Putin. I just want this to be sure and clear. I am not a Putin fan, but I'm also not a Ukraine fan from having our 30 plus chemical weapons labs in Ukraine. And I think that there is something to this on both sides. So, an excellent article. Go take a look at it. We also want to hear from you on your opinions on all of that. Americans should prepare for cyber sabotage from Chinese hackers, U.S. official warns. Holy smokes. This brings up about 4 or 5 other articles that we have, Michael and I have talked about just recently. Chinese hackers are all but certain to disrupt American critical infrastructure, pipelines, and railways. We saw that, I think it was 2 years ago when the Colonial Pipeline was attacked by cyber terrorists, and it put a whole halt to the gasoline and other things that were piped up to the east. And this is Security Agency Director Jen Easterly said Beijing is making major investments in the capability to sabotage U.S. infrastructure. Well, a balloon floating over the country doesn't really help either. This, I think, is the real threat that we need to be prepared for, to focus on and to build resilience against, she told her audience. She cautioned that Americans needed to be prepared in the likelihood that Beijing's attackers would dodge their defenses and cause damage in the physical world. Here's a little bit of a thing about China. President Xi is under some serious problems. In the past, the way that dictators have gotten away from being able to get run out of town by their people, start a war. So if you start a war, you have a better chance of getting everybody rallied around you and everything else. I heard that comment and I need to double check and see where it came from. It's a good point, though. Think about it. If Xi starts a war and all of a sudden we are in a war situation, President Xi is going to get the backing of his people and is able to maintain control. It's all about control. So if that happens, this article really does come into play. You need to be able to have enough supplies to be able to survive a little while. But if the grid goes down and they're attacking the infrastructure, I've had another interview on my podcast in which it could be years before the grid could come back up. Here's the other piece of this puzzle. 3 weeks ago, 30 tons of ammonium nitrate went missing. Of that 30 tons, that's 18 Oklahoma City bombings. Another article came out the next day, 2 days after that, and said that there's 400,000 miles of the grid potentially being attacked. You take a look at all of these articles and you're seeing some really things that may be connected, but if they're not connected, we need to seriously take a look at these wide-ranging articles. So take a look at that article as well on Newsbeat. Joe Manchin vows to fight Biden's war on the appliances, not supporting any of these craziness. There's a little bit of frustration from Americans right now about having to worry about the government stepping in and taking your gas stoves away. Are they going to require you to put in wash machines and washers that are less capable? Are you going to have to put in heat pumps that they can shut off? There's a lot of things coming around the corner that we need to take a look at. My problem with Joe Manchin is if he's up there saying that, can you trust him to stand up and say he's going to stand with the other folks? It absolutely shows you how disconnected the DOE is with the facts and the reality of what's happening to the grid system, Manchin told Fox News Digital. We have so many warnings from the Federal Energy Regulatory Commission and North American Electric Reliability Corporation and everybody else that the grid is sustained, to say the least. It's not sustained, and it's because of the energy policies. They're taking more and more dispatchable energy off of the grid and putting renewables on the grid, causing more unstable. So let's pay attention to that one as well, too. Hey, this Philadelphia Bridge article, Philadelphia Bridge collapse crystallizes fossil fuel debate. Holy smokes. This is a bad deal. This was a gasoline tanker that did blow up under the bridge, caused the bridge failure. I did see Mayor Pete on the news today, and he was saying that everything's going to cost higher and cost more because you're going to have to drive further, and the foods and all of everything is going to have to go further. So it's going to add to the cost. Well, why are we having a fossil fuel discussion when we actually should be having a pipeline discussion? Pipeline is a lot safer than transporting via tanker truck. Now, if the tanker is at the last mile and you got to get it to it, I understand that, but this may have been a longer haul. Looking at where it was, there are no pipelines in that area. So this should be of how do we get the lowest cost kilowatt per hour, the lowest cost gasoline to all citizens of the world with the least amount of impact on the environment and not printing money. That's what we need to do. Save the environment, save the whales, save the people. Let's do all three. Okay. Beware the stock market rally because it's reminiscent of what led up to the 2008 crisis. JP Morgan asset manager. Okay, this one is kind of interesting. The stock market's rally. This is the first line out of the article. Ongoing rally is the calm before the storm, according to JP Morgan's asset management. Bob Michel told CNBC the current market conditions remind him of the March to June period of 2008. Woo. You see that we're seeing things you only see in recession or where you wind up in a recession. That to me is kind of frightening on that standpoint, is because we don't know. Has the Fed done a good job to this point? No. Can they get us back around out of this? I don't think so. And I think the only way that the Fed can get inflation, the Biden administration just released a publication saying that inflation is down, but another article came out and said that it is cumulatory, not the way that they were misleading the public. And so we're actually up 13% still in a overall inflation area. So let's all fact check each other, take a look at that. So with that, hey, reach out, have a great time, hug someone in your family, tell them you love them, and have an absolute wonderful week. Reach out to us and we look forward to visiting with you. As always, we're here to help. Have a great day. See you.